Alright guys, so let us talk about one of the wildest what-if directions Marvel has ever teased. The idea of Spider-Man, not as the hero we've always known, but as a full-on villain. And I, Dan T, just mean those brief moments where Peter Parker gets corrupted by the symbiote or loses his temper. I'm talking about the real, terrifying scenario, where the same kid who dedicated his life to with great power comes great responsibility actually flips that lesson on its head, embraces his darker instincts, and becomes the very thing he's always fought against. Because here's the scary truth. Spider-Man is one of the most dangerous characters in Marvel if he ever crosses that line. And the hook right here is simple. What happens when one of Marvel's most grounded, street-level heroes decides he's done playing nice? What happens when Peter Parker, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, stops pulling his punches? Because remember, this is a guy who canonically can hit harder than Captain America, dodge bullets without effort, and outthink geniuses like Tony Stark when he's pressed. He holds back in literally every fight he's in. If he stopped holding back, if he stopped caring about morality, the entire Marvel universe would feel it. Now, before we dive into how Spider-Man becomes a villain, let's build some context. Spider-Man's whole identity as a hero is rooted in guilt. Uncle Ben dies. Peter blames himself, and his sense of responsibility becomes the foundation of everything he does. Every fight, every sacrifice, every sleepless night. It all comes back to that one mantra. With great power comes great responsibility. But imagine if that guilt flips. Imagine if instead of responsibility, Peter starts seeing power as justification. Instead of thinking, I need to protect people because I can, he starts thinking, I should control people because I can. That's the seed of villain Spider-Man. And Marvel has given us glimpses of this across different storylines. The most famous one, the symbiote saga. When Peter bonded with the black suit, it amplified his aggression, his anger, his hunger for power. He wasn't a full-on villain, but you could see it in how brutal he became with criminals, how detached he grew from his friends. Now take that and crank it up to a permanent mindset. That is not just Venom territory. That is Spider-Man realizing he doesn't need a code. Here's where the suspense kicks in. What's the trigger? Because Peter Parker doesn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm evil now. It has to be personal. And in most of the darker Spider-Man stories, that trigger is loss. Whether it's Gwen Stacy's death, or Aunt May being put in danger, or Mary Jane's suffering. Because of his choices, every time Peter loses someone he loves, his faith in himself and in the world cracks. So in this story, the push toward villainy comes when Peter faces the ultimate betrayal. After years of saving people, a turn on him. Maybe it's J. Jonah Jameson finally convincing the city that Spider-Man is the true menace. Maybe it's the police targeting him as a criminal. Or maybe it's something bigger, like the Avengers questioning his methods and sidelining him. Either way, Peter realizes that no matter how much good he does, people will always hate him. And this time, instead of brushing it off, he lets that resentment grow. Visually, this is where the comic would shift darker. Imagine panels of Peter perched on a rooftop, looking down not as a protector, but as a predator. Rain pouring, lightning flashing, his inner monologue turning bitter. I saved them all, and they spit on me. Maybe they don't need a hero. Maybe they need a ruler. Cue the ominous music. Slow zoom on the mask. That's the birth of villain Spider-Man. Now, once Peter steps into that role, the first thing that changes is his fighting style. Hero Spider-Man pulls his punches. Villain Spider-Man doesn't. He knows exactly how fragile people are compared to him. A thug he used to web to a lamppost. Now he leaves them broken in an alley. A gang he used to scare off with a few jokes. Now he dismantles them with surgical precision, taking out leaders, burning their operations to the ground. And because Peter is a genius. Let's not forget, this is a guy who built his own web shooters at 15. He starts weaponizing his tech, We're talking about spider-bots patrolling the city, surveillance networks watching every street corner, an army of mechanical eyes and webs ensuring total control. And this is where Marvel gets wild, because villain Spider-Man doesn't stay street level. Once you realize the efficiency of his mind and the power in his fists, you see how quickly he escalates. He starts making choices other heroes won't. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Peter doesn't just fight him, he ends him. Norman Osborn. No more Cottonmouth, no more we'll see you in the next arc. Peter takes him down permanently, ripping out the cycle of villainy at the root. And in his mind, this isn't evil. It's justice. It's responsibility redefined. But of course, that kind of shift doesn't go unnoticed. The Avengers step in, and this is where things get intense. Captain America tries to reason with him. This isn't you, son. You're crossing lines you can't come back from. But Spider-Man's answer is chilling. I've been holding back my whole life, and where has it gotten me? Dead friends, broken promises. A city that spits in my face. Maybe it's time someone finally fixed the world. And when Cap tries to stop him, Peter shows the terrifying truth. He's been holding back against the Avengers too. He moves faster than they expect, counters their attacks like he's been studying them for years, because he has. And for the first time, Earth's mightiest heroes realize that Spider-Man, the kid they all trusted, might be one of the most dangerous threats they've ever faced. Visually, you'd show brutal clashes. Spidey dismantling Iron Man's armor with precision webbing. Dodging Thor's hammer with impossible reflexes. Trapping the Hulk in layered webs reinforced with science he's been perfecting for years. Music shifts to pounding drums, sharp strings, tension rising with every move. It's not just a fight. It's Peter making a statement. I, Dante, need to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. And the most tragic part of all this? Deep down, Peter still thinks he's right. He still thinks he's honoring Uncle Ben. Only now he interprets that lesson differently. With great power comes great responsibility. But maybe the responsibility isn't to protect. Maybe it's to rule. To force the world into order so nobody else has to suffer like he did. That's the chilling core of villain Spider-Man. He's not a mustache-whirling bad guy. He's a broken hero who thinks he's saving everyone by taking away their freedom. And here's where the final section of the story hits with full force. The people closest to Peter become his last tether to humanity. Mary Jane, Aunt May, even someone like Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. They all try to reach him, and at first, he listens. There are moments where you see the mask slip, where the old Peter flickers through. But then tragedy strikes again. Maybe MJ gets caught in the crossfire. Maybe Aunt May dies because of the war Peter started with the heroes. And when that final anchor is cut, that's it. The last bit of humanity in him shatters. What emerges isn't just villain Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man as the overlord of New York, the dark reflection of everything he swore he'd never become. The final panels, they're chilling. A city draped in webs, skyscrapers covered in surveillance, criminals nowhere to be found. But neither is freedom. Civilians walk the streets in silence, watched by spider drones overhead. And on top of the tallest tower, Spider-Man stands alone, his suit darker than ever. His voice narrating the last chilling twist. With great power comes great responsibility. And my responsibility is to decide who deserves to live in my world. Music cuts to silence, close up on his mask, then fade to black. And guys, that's the terrifying brilliance of this arc. It's not about Spider-Man turning into some cartoonish villain. It's about what happens when the best of us breaks. When the most selfless hero finally gets tired of sacrificing everything and decides to flip the script. And the scariest part, it makes sense. You can see the logic. You can see how easy it would be for Peter to walk that path. Which is why stories like this stick with us, because they remind us that even the brightest, Heroes have shadows waiting just beneath the surface. So what do you guys think? If Spider-Man went full villain, would anyone in the Marvel Universe actually be able to stop him? Or would Peter Parker finally prove that he was always the most dangerous one of them all? Let me know your thoughts down below, because honestly, this is the kind of what-if that keeps me up at night.